With this distinguished gathering before us, I have no doubt that this year's assembly will be impactful and inspiring.
The critical role of architects in shaping Nigeria's built environment was the major focus as the Nigerian Institute of Architects NIA Abuja chapter successfully held its 41st General Assembly Conference and exhibition at the exclusive Serene Hotel and Suites Banquet Hall in Abuja. With the theme Housing Delivery and Real Estate Development in Nigeria, the architect's role and a developer's perspective, the event had architects, developers, and industry stakeholders from across the country gather to brainstorm on conversations that would lead to actionable solutions for housing delivery in Nigeria. And for the chapter's chairman, architect Yemi Sola Adebiyi, the NIA, like other regulatory bodies, is positioned to maintain the architect's professional standards and ethical responsibility and secure the future of the profession and Nigeria's development trajectory.
Nigeria stands at the threshold of unprecedented urbanization, with our cities growing at rates that demand innovative, sustainable, and architecturally sound solutions. The timing of today's theme could not be more apt. With Nigeria's population projected to reach 400 million by 2050, and urbanization rates accelerating beyond 4% annually, the housing deficit we face today, conservatively estimated at over 20 million units, represent both our greatest professional challenge and our most significant opportunity to demonstrate the indispensable value of architectural expertise to national development. Today, we shall not merely discuss housing delivery, we shall chart a course for transformation. We shall not simply acknowledge challenges, we shall architect solutions. We shall not remain passive observers of Nigeria's built environment evolution. We shall emerge as the chief architects of its positive transformation.
With goodwill messages from notable stakeholders in the design and build profession, the conference highlighted the critical need for collaborative efforts to address Nigeria's persistent housing deficit.
Thank you very much. You've stopped clapping. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be here. Abuja chapter, one of the 37 chapters of the Nigerian Institute of Architects, one of the most important chapters, not because the chair is a woman, but really because Abuja, we have many of our very good architects based here in Abuja who have been doing great things, and this chapter has contributed so much to the Nigerian Institute of Architects. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and respected members of the Abuja chapter, it gives me immense pleasure to extend my warm goodwill to you on the occasion of the 41st General Assembly Conference and Exhibition of the NIA Abuja chapter. With the timely and forward-looking theme, Housing Delivery and Real Estate Development in Nigeria, the architect's role and the developer's perspective. Very apt theme, because everywhere you go now, it's housing estates all over the place. And sometimes you wonder, are the architects involved? And this is a big question we need to keep asking. And so I'm happy that Abuja chapter has chosen this apt topic and we'll be able to address it today. This theme addresses one of the most pressing issues of our time. Housing delivery and real estate development are pivotal to Nigeria's socio-economic growth. Driving through Lagos coming to Abuja, I saw the myriads of housing estates, high-rise, so many, every corner. The unfortunate thing, though, maybe perhaps we will address it, is that 75% of them are unoccupied. I don't know, maybe the people in housing will be able to tell us why today. Are they meeting the needs of the people we're designing for? Are they really estates for the Nigerians? We'll need to talk about that. As architects, our mandate is not confined to design. We are visionaries. We are solution providers and guardians of sustainable development. It is no surprise that many underperforming estates in our nation stem from the exclusion of architects from the early stages of planning and execution. In Banana Island, where I normally stay when I go to Lagos, lovely houses, swimming pools, and perhaps I may add swimming gutters. And I hope you understand what I mean by that. Swimming gutters. Because I know for certainty that no architect will be involved in that kind of design. So where are the architects in our housing estates? For true transformation, developers must collaborate closely with architects to ensure that projects are functional, resilient, and responsive to human needs. This is also very crucial. And perhaps our developers need to know who is an architect. Perhaps many of those in housing delivery are not using architects. Perhaps they're using people who can use 3D, give them nice perspectives. Are those the houses that meet up to the standard that we're expecting? I commend the Abuja chapter for consistently championing dialogues that matter and for your unwavering commitment to the progress of our profession. This conference no doubt will open new frontiers of thought and yield practical solutions to the challenges confronting housing and real estate in our country. It is with deep appreciation that I recognize our esteemed keynote speaker, Mr. Matthew Ashimolowo of Macarius Luxury Properties. Sorry, when I'm calling you on Macarius Luxury Properties, I revert to Mr. But sir, I recognize your ministry, sir. Whose pioneering work in real estate exemplifies innovation and ambition. And sir, honestly, I'm looking forward to your talking to us about how you manage the two sides. I also acknowledge the distinguished speakers who have honored this gathering with your presence. Thank you very much, our dear architects. It's good to see you, Olajimoke. Thank you for being a voice for us on the housing sector. As we reflect on our roles and contributions, let us strengthen partnerships, innovate fearlessly, and shape a future where excellence is not an aspiration, but a standard. I look forward to your presence and support as we raise the bar even higher. We must raise the bar, what did I say? Even higher for our profession.
Where is your vision? Sometimes we are so caught up with our activities and busyness that we forget to quantify our life, to realize that a good death depends on a good life. We tend to forget because we are so busy with everything we do in life that we tend to forget that our life is highly meaningful based on the level and the quality for which we evaluate the kind of breath we take every day. To ask, are we ready, truly ready to move out? And I'm so proud to be among you what I will call a divine assembly. And why do I call it a divine assembly? You have one of the most powerful skill and competence in the world. And what is that? The capacity to turn a space into an identity and into a culture. That is the power of the architect. And so simply it means that you have the capacity to translate what exists only in the mind and put it in the physical form. It means that you have that capacity to bring things and transform the country in the very essence of the fact that things that we cannot see, you can make them real. So it means if Nigeria is seeking for a vision, the quality of house you put on the table becomes that vision. If Nigeria is seeking for a meaning to define itself in terms of where will Nigeria be in the next 50 years, the quality of buildings you put on the table is enough to give people that meaning, that sense of belonging to get there. But this is always the challenge oftentimes. The challenge is that the body cannot take you where the mind cannot take you. Because ultimately, whatever you see, it can only be because you have seen it. And then the body can now command to get to that point.
I can see the synergy between the national and the state chapter. Please keep up the tempo. We are super proud of you. Thank you so much. The Association of Women Town Planners in Nigeria, AWTPN, heartily extends warm felicitations to the Nigerian Institute of Architects, NIA Abuja chapter, on the occasion of its 41st annual general meeting and exhibition. It is indeed a significant milestone that reflects the commitment, resilience, and forward-thinking spirit of your chapter in advancing architectural excellence and sustainable development in Nigeria. It is no secret that Nigeria faces a significant housing deficit, currently estimated at over 17 million units. In this context, the role of professionals, particularly architects and developers, cannot be overemphasized. Environmental management and social considerations is essential to achieving the overarching goal of livable and inclusive human settlements. This is why we in the AWTPN, that's Association of Women Town Planners, strongly advocate for greater collaboration between the architects, town planners, developers, engineers, surveyors, and policymakers. Each professional discipline brings unique value to the table. On our part as women town planners, we remain committed to advocating for inclusive urban policies, mainstreaming gender-sensitive planning, and promoting community-driven housing initiatives that leave no one behind. As you celebrate this AGM and showcase innovations through your exhibition, we encourage the NIA to continue championing excellence, sustainability, and professional ethics in practice. We also look forward to deepening institutional collaboration with your esteemed body for shared developmental outcomes. Congratulations once again to the Nigerian Institute of Architects, Abuja chapter, on your first one AGM. We wish you fruitful deliberations, groundbreaking insights, and a more impactful future. Long live NIA Abuja chapter, long live AWTPN, long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you all.
Renowned preacher, motivational speaker, and Chief Executive Officer of Makarios Luxury Properties, Matthew Ashimolobo, in his keynote address, underscored the importance of innovative thinking and ethical practices in building a sustainable housing sector, and charged architects to be at the forefront, not just as designers, but as solution providers who understand the economic and social realities of the Nigerian market.
When I decided to be a cassava farmer in my 900-acre land, I went to IITA Ibadan to get a professor of cassava. When I became a rice farmer, I went to FUNAB, Abeokuta Federal University of Agriculture, to get a Professor Showemima, who is a professor of rice. So if we want to now build houses, the physical planning authorities must approve, the architects must design, their designs must be acceptable, must be buildable, and must be user-friendly. The developer feels the fee is too high. The architect feels it reflects his scope. What should the two do? I think the first thing the developer needs to do is to realize that this is a design that will be there for years to come. The architect also needs to combined financial gain with architectural signature. If everything is about money, you will miss a lot of opportunities.
He further highlighted major challenges between architects and developers and called for a meeting point between the values and end targets of these critical stakeholders in the building sector to ensure harmony and sustainable professionalism in the quality and durability of buildings.
In life, there are three things that validate people. Some people just give them a title even if you don't pay them well. Just call them managing director, president of so-and-so place. The second group of people, they say, I don't want title, just show me the money. And then there's a third group of people, they say, just give me the work, even if you don't pay me well. I think an architect should not just seek for just the amount. With the collapse of buildings in Nigeria, if told to design anything in excess of 2-3 floors, to insist on the data of the lands before designing, because when they call those who are involved in the building that collapsed, they will call the architect. Because my mother used to say, you can never talk of a dog that was cooked without talking of the pot they used to cook it. Whatever she meant.
From cost-effective building materials to policy frameworks that incentivize the design and build sector in Nigeria, a series of thought-provoking panel discussions with question and answer sessions analyzed and posited on roadmaps for a more professional and sustainable real estate industry to ensure that the architecture profession is ably positioned and projected for sustainability in the Nigeria's housing sector.
With your wealth of knowledge, we hope that some people can draw some inspiration and some action points that they can take away from today. We'd just like to know why there is this failure to bring in architects in the way that when these decisions have been made, sir.
It's surprising when we hear that architects are placed in the lower side of the ladder in terms of the role they should play in housing delivery and development, even to the extent of financing. For me, I believe that architects ought to have been included in the program and organization of housing development right from scratch. And three key things that architects bring to the table easily when it comes to organizing financing for housing development. They bring along coordination, they bring along communication, and they bring along collaboration. In designing the house, the architect actually needs to think of the need of the off-taker, the buyer, the beneficiary of those houses. And so he thinks about marketability. And that's one aspect that the developer should be thinking about too, to say, okay, if I'm going to deliver these houses, who am I delivering them to? And if an architect is in that space within to say, I'm designing these houses for the people that will buy, I have an idea of their needs, and I know that at the end of the day, you will be able to offload the houses when you develop them. Then, of course, right from scratch, they need to be talking to each other.
How can we reposition as strategic partners and not just design vendors? So without the value that the architect brings to it, our lack of early involvement in the system, we cannot sincerely unlock the potential in better land use in the nation. Please, can you speak to that?
What you're saying is absolutely correct. When I think back to what an architect used to be, way back when we did the history of architecture, the architect was the designer, that's for a fact, but the architect was also the master builder. I don't know what it was that made us think that being the designer was a more tush thing to do, and we dropped the role of being the master builder. Truth is that it's the master builder that understands the numbers. It's the master builder that engages with the market and knows what product he wants to put into the marketplace. And so what we find ourselves, you're right, a lot of developers and investors, which is the most painful part, look at the architect and has decided that that architect's role is a siloed role limited to drawing lines. And in fact, what is even more upsetting is that the architect is seen as a cost center rather than a value add. Yes. So they think if we're looking at the project and there's anything to cut, call the architect and tell them, that this and this and this are the things that they have to eliminate so that we can make the project viable. That is so wrong, but that's also because the architect has stopped being at you call it the center. Is actually the beginning of the transaction. By the time an architect is invited, let's be honest, in 9 times out of 10, the site has been decided. The investor developer has spoken to a few financiers. The ideas have been formed in the mind, and then they call the architect and ask them to come and make something beautiful, something that is potentially already technically flawed or financially flawed. So we then spend all this time focusing on doing all these really nice drawings and 3Ds to do the marketing. We have to change that story. Even when we look at our scope of service, I don't think we're starting from the right place. So we need to take a look at that and go back.
While architects are not only designers of forms and spaces that shape the future of the built environment, the need for stronger collaboration between architects and developers to address the nation's housing challenges and promote sustainable urban development was emphasized at this event. High point of the event also included presentations from the chapter executives of the NIA, networking among the high-caliber stakeholders, including students of architecture and collaborators within the design and build sector, making the 2025 AGM of the Abuja chapter of Nigeria Institute of Architects an remarkable occasion.
I was actually waiting to hear when I talked, and it was well captured. You did talk about the fact that I said that will resolve the problems between the NIA and ACON. And if you have been following in the past 2 years, you would note that this has been one of the things that we have been doing. There has been a lot of back and forth, a lot of battles, but at the end of the day, we were able to do that landmark examination. And I want you to clap for NIA. And more importantly, we fought for the fact that, look, these guys, many of them practicing for years. Look at architect Jumoke just doing exams. I have a professor of architecture who just did exams. Look, stop all this back and forth, all this wahala. We insisted that this exam would be a virtual one. They don't all have to go to Port Harcourt, go to Lagos, go to this. Things have changed. We have agreed that the NIA is to do the exam in collaboration with ACON. We were able to let them know that this is the direction we think we should go. The NIA has been able to do a virtual interview exam for members to join. So why can't we use the same model? So it was accepted, and that was why so many people, even some people did exams from New Zealand. And that exam was quite successful to a point. However, we are at a stage where we are doing a review of the exam process, and there are some incomplete results, and we know that. While a lot of people are celebrating, there's still a lot of people that are not happy. So what are we going to do? So we're engaging. There's a joint board of architectural education, of course you know, that's handling the exams, and we've been having some meetings. By the time I finish now, I'm still going to talk with the chair of the BAE so that these results that have been collated properly would now be presented properly to the institute. And then when we have this audit of the results, we'll be able to accept them formally into the NIA, do our induction, and then things can move on. But we wanted to be sure that we can clear the backlog. There is a backlog. There are people with incomplete results, and we need to take care of them before we talk about the generality of the exams.
As Nigeria continues to grow, the role of the architect will be more crucial than ever in shaping a future where quality, affordability, and sustainability are not mutually exclusive, but the standard.